everybody, and welcome back to Feeling Seen, the podcast that talks about the movies and the characters that make us feel seen. And my co-host today is somebody that I've been wanting to have on this podcast for years. I would have to say one of my favorite directors because they make movies in all sorts of the genres that I like best. And you may know him from such films as the One Shot franchise, aka One Shot and One More Shot, The Marine 5 and 6, Eliminators, Wildcat, which is an extremely entertaining Kate Beckinsale actioner that came out, gosh, I believe that was last year already, that I had a whale of a time with. And I hope you have seen the trailer for his next film, which I believe will now be getting a theatrical release, Hungry. This, with the hippo on the poster and the word hungry, I feel like you and the audience will join me in thinking of Hungry Hungry Hippos quite immediately. James Nunn, what else do the people need to know about you before we get started here today?
I mean, I don't know. That's the best intro I've ever had. So, um, not even my mum could do that. She doesn't know half of the movies. So, no, that was very kind. No, I think let's get to it. I'm pleased to be here. Thank you for having me. Thank you for a kind intro. And
Of course.
I'm a rambler, and I can't wait to chew your ear off.
I rarely listen to interviews and read interviews that I feel like somebody truly did something where like I'm just not going to be able to approach it. But I listened to you on the Dodge This podcast, and I wish so much that I could provide the audio stinger that podcast provided to you when the host delivered a Master of None
Oh, do you
with
know
an
what?
audio effect. I was like, God damn it. I simply cannot exceed the Master of None stinger.
It's embarrassing, but I actually think I have that on my desktop. I wonder
It
if I could.
is so, it is truly so good. Honestly, I even struggle with interviews sometimes because I just wish I was asking people questions. And I really enjoyed that conversation. So actually, I'm going to start this conversation off by saying, listen to James Nunn on the Dodge This podcast, guys, because it was a really lively and rollicking conversation. But that is neither here nor there. Let us begin the conversation with your work. Let's start with Hungry. Did
Sure.
you imagine yourself making a hippo disaster movie? And when you got the chance to, were you like, this makes sense to me? Or was it like, what a surprise, I can't believe I'm in this position?
Great question. Uh, Look, my favorite movie ever is Jurassic Park. So I'm kind of like drawn to that style of movie making, creatures and like jungle and swamp and yeah, but also and also like Jurassic Park isn't necessarily like a horror movie. It's like a family adventure movie, survival
Yeah.
movie. So I think there's just something from a young age that's kind of like seeded that as my kind of movie into my brain.
Hmm.
And then I was fortunate enough to work on some shark movies as the second unit director about 10 years ago, to 12 years ago, even. It's gone, life goes so quick,
Wow,
called the
yeah.
47 meter down franchise. So that
Uh-huh.
I worked on number one and number two. And
47 meters down, that first one is one of the scariest movies I've ever experienced. I've rarely felt so claustrophobic and upset as I did watching that movie. I mean, it is a triumph. I will call 47 meters down a triumph.
yeah, I mean, it really was. The director, Johannes Roberts, did an amazing job. And it, even as we were filming it, felt special. I think the only thing that was going to, and Mandy Moore and Claire Holt were excellent, and Matthew
Yeah.
Modine was excellent. So it was a great cast. And I think the only thing that was going to let it down was like, is the shark going to be good? And they managed to get a company to do the shark, and they did such a phenomenal job on it that it was like, wow. So it really landed. And, that kind of, I mean, I'm jumping with the answer I was going to give, but that kind of happened with Hungry in that we weren't really sure if we were going to get a company to pull off a convincing hippo.
Hmm.
So it was kind of like about alluding to the hippo at times and not showing it because we weren't really sure if it was going to look any good.
Hmm.
We did have an animatronic head, which I can go into with you as well, which is like a robot head controlled by five different people.
Hmm.
And but we kind of took that 47 mentality, like what we learned on those movies, and was like, the hippo's going to be the star of the show. Obviously, the
Hmm.
stars are also excellent, but if the hippo doesn't sell, this movie isn't going to kind of work.
Hmm.
And yeah, we found this lovely, amazing company, kind of young company called Magic Dust, in England, and they just did an incredible job. Absolutely delivered. So
Yeah.
proud of the movie.
Yeah, no, they did absolutely deliver. The hippo is an excellent star in this film. And that's
Yeah,
really, you can
sorry,
lose it in a
I
creature
didn't even get
feature.
the. Oh, sorry, say that again, Jordan.
No, you can lose it in a creature feature if you see the thing and you're let down by the thing. But they really, your hippo team really came through for you in Hungary.
Yeah, they absolutely did. I mean, here's something which you kind of Jaws taught us this, didn't it? Like, don't show the shark and stall the shark and allude to the shark. And
Yeah.
the problem with that now is that there's so many shark movies that you kind of just, well, why are you not showing me the shark? I know what I'm gonna see because it's on the cover.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt like with this one, we actually did have an opportunity to go, well, look, people see like glimpses of hippo in Jumanji and Congo and things like
Hmm.
that, but they've never got like a full-on hippo movie. So I felt like we could truly kind of live by that Spielbergian rule where it's like just tease out the hippo, and we do. So like when you watch it, and I hope you do, I hope lots of people do, it you get like I'd say you get like 75% of the hippo in the last half an hour of the movie.
Yeah,
That first
yeah,
hour.
absolutely heavily featured toward the end,
Yeah, absolutely.
along with an incredible reveal about the machinations of the United States government during World War II. So,
Yeah, there's some, well, there's some truth.
compounding reveals.
So there's some truth to the, I'll try and get through this as quick as possible, but it was kind of the answer I should have given a minute ago before I started rambling was, after doing 47, people spoke to me about that. Well, because that wasn't my movie. I was a second unit director. They were
Mhm.
like, well, you love doing it. Why don't you try and come up with your own creature feature? So I Googled like what's the most deadly animals out there.
Hmm.
And it was like hippo was like number one or number two. I think it was number two actually, because I think number one was like a trick question where it's like mosquito or something.
Oh,
But
sure. They've killed
number
more people than anything in history, whatever.
something like that. But number two or high up was the hippo, and the hippo kills like over 500 people a year in Africa generally. But I thought, well, that's my animal because I love filming water and I love filming. I want to film a hippo, great. But then I needed a way to like make it sellable, and like I'm sure most people know, like your movie's probably going to do better if it's set in America.
Sure.
So it's just the way it is, guys. Just that's Hollywood. The so I was like, I Googled like hippos in America, and like, you get the first thing you get is Pablo Escobar's hippos in South America, and how they're basically like running wild and taking over Colombia,
Oh, God.
and which is actually a thing. He had like 12 of them when he was a drug lord, and they when he passed away, they were left to roam his estate, and now they've become a very invasive species in Colombia, where there's like 100 of them or
That's
more.
one hell of an invasive. That's not like a kudzu plant. That's an army of fucking hippos.
Yeah, and they've got a protection order against them because someone tried to kill one in like the 90s and everyone went crazy because they were like, "Why did you kill this hippo? We love the hippo." So
Uh-huh.
they made it like illegal to kill the hippos. So they've just been allowed to like get more. And anyway, so it was that and I was like, "Well, I'm not going to do that because I'm sure Netflix or someone is doing that." And then I found this like information about how when you had like the meat shortage in the 1920s, they nearly brought hippos over to Louisiana to ranch them as a meat substitute.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, well, that's how I get hippos in America. And then the original pitch for the movie was a 1920s like crime horror, like period horror set in the
Wow.
swamp. Everyone went, we love this, we love the information you found, but doing it period is just going to make it so much harder than it needs to be. Tunes, cars, accent, I don't know, everything. So stray Coke cans floating by. So we were just like, okay, they were, can you make it modern? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll make it modern. So basically went back to the core idea, took away the crime element, which was also like another genre, didn't need to be.
Sure.
And then just put our guys on an alligator tour
Hmm.
in Louisiana, and I'd done an alligator tour, so I kind of knew what that was like when I was in New Orleans, and wrote it from there that they go out and their boat they find a massive alligator that's been bitten in half, and
Right.
then the boat gets flipped, and they're in the middle of the bayou.
Well, that
But
is, see, when I say like you're one of my favorite directors because you make so many different kinds of movies that I like. And I appreciated too that like sort of as a bridge to that, the movie and like character that you initially like that you suggested kind of top line to discuss, like also like among I feel like a thing that the Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, obviously, the Indiana Jones franchise is a classic.
yeah,
The Last Crusade, I waffle back and forth between the unpopular statement that Temple of Doom is my favorite or Last Crusade.
right.
And that is like a thing that we love about Indiana Jones is like the action adventure franchise, like as you stated, like what Jurassic Park is. It's a sort of like a children's adventure movie at its core. But and you know, it does get the credit for it. But the thing that I think about it as first and foremost is it's honestly one of my favorite comedies
Yeah.
ever. And I wanted to hear from you about your connection to this movie. Like I feel like so many of us have a connection to the Indiana Jones franchise, but what is your inroad to this? And then I'm excited to hear your answer as somebody who is a filmmaker themselves, versed and deftly able to execute so much genre juggling at the same time.
I could have given a few answers on this. The
Okay.
truth is, I'm a film person, and I've got so many influences from my childhood. So I went for something nostalgic
Sure.
that I feel like Indiana Jones, like there are a few movies that I can remember kind of like playing dress up to, I
Right,
guess.
yeah.
Like, there was stuff I just watched and liked and consumed, but like, I think I thought I was Indiana Jones
Hmm.
after seeing that movie, and I think it was the order I saw them in as well because I think it might have been the first one I saw as I was it 93 or
Oh gosh, I
ni-
don't remember. Producer Marissa can help weigh in on
maybe
the fact
maybe
checking.
it's 87. I don't know, but I
Last Crusade is 89.
89.
89. 80 will split the
In the
difference.
middle of where I went. I knew I was onto something. But I think because when you're, I was born in 85, so I was born after the
Same.
first two, but before the third one. And then
Mhm.
I guess the way the third one, probably because my mum and dad saw one or two at the cinema, three was a video rental in my
Mhm.
house or a video purchase. And I just watched it on loop. So it was the first one I watched. So it was kind of like my Indiana Jones
Right.
and I think that's probably why it was my favorite. And also I was a big Sean Connery fan, loved James Bond.
Okay.
And I was actually named after James Bond, so not the Bond bit, just the James bit. But the because he was my mum's favorite character, her favorite character.
Hmm.
So yeah, and I just remember like having a fake wit. It was like my dad's cord on his dressing gown,
Mhm.
or a robe. I don't know what you call it in the States, but like, and I'm like whipping my sister with it, and I'm like, and I'm putting it around the banister, and I'm like swinging, like nearly killing myself down the stairs. And there's that scene where he's going to get the cup of Christ at the end,
Mhm.
and he's working out this puzzle, and he's got to do the letters, but he presses the wrong letter,
Right.
and then
Jehovah begins with an
yeah,
I.
exactly. And he has to correct himself and he goes, begins with an I. And then like he presses it and it goes. And I would do that on my staircase at home just to myself. I'd just be like going up the stairs going, no, begins with an I. And then so I just got so much value out of that. Uh, and then I think back to it and it's just one of those influences that really spurred on my love of storytelling
Yeah.
and action adventure and being a kid. Like, because, I'm 40 now, but I'm still a child. I'm still like, I make believe for a
Yeah, you
living.
got a career in playing pretend.
Exactly, and that is what Indiana Jones is kind of doing. I know he's like a really smart guy, and obviously I'm a really smart guy, but no kidding. But no, like obviously he's like a really smart guy because he's a professor, but he's off like running this fantastical life,
Hmm.
you know, chasing myths and doing action stuff, and he's a geek, but he's like also incredibly cool.
Hmm.
So I think those were all just traits that I kind of wanted to see in myself. I think I just wanted to be him.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of my reason, I suppose, for my inroad for why I chose Indy.
Well, and thinking about it coming into this conversation, and you've made a lot of action movies. There's obviously a lot of bravura and a lot of like guys kicking guys' asses and being the hardest man in the room kind of thing. And one of the things that I like as I've gotten older, one of the things I've appreciated most about the Indy franchise and Harrison Ford in it is here you have like, and in the case of Last Crusade, both you have sort of like two of the most like iconic men in like the
Yeah.
history, like just handsome, swarthy perhaps at points, just these kind of like Han Solo and James Bond, these
Yeah.
like images of like virility. And then you have them, and I feel like a hallmark of Harrison Ford is that he's also always been confident and comfortable enough to play the fool when the role demands it. Like Indiana Jones gets his ass kicked around in that famously like befuddled Harrison Ford face that he's
Yeah.
so good at making. And then here you have his dad played by Sean Connery, the venerable James Bond. And then you see him in this movie, like doing almost slapstick comedy at point. Like the whole back-to-back chair scene, Dad, what? Dad, what? And you're
Yeah.
watching James Bond and Han Solo be silly archaeological adventurers fighting Nazis in search of the Holy Grail. And I wanted to hear just a bit about from Harrison Ford, like as somebody who was like so seized by cinema as a kid, and you have these like epitomizations of like mythos and iconography in cinema and what it's like to just like grow up with those being your like boyhood heroes when you're gonna go on to make movies yourself and you're like grafting onto these people.
Yeah, well, they're so cool. I mean, you really summarized so much of what is cool about his character. One scene that came to mind as you were saying it is, when Sean Connery thinks that Indy's died, so he's looking over the cliff for him, and then like Indy like climbs up behind him, and he's just like playing befuddle, like, what are we all doing? Like, look, so and they do the double take, and they look at each other. It's like, oh, son, you're here, Um, it's just fun. In fact, even as you said it, so I don't know if you saw it was my third movie, Eliminators. I
I
actually,
have seen Eliminators,
so
yes.
I do the no ticket scene in the cable car. So we
Hmm.
we had a very macho fight with Scott Adkins across one of London's iconic things called the cable car, the
Hmm.
Santander cable car at the time, which goes over by the O2. And Scott takes out two bad guys in the cable car, and it's a confined space the size of like a small car. And
Hmm.
then there's a guy with a briefcase sitting there,
Hmm.
and he Scott kind of channels that no ticket energy from the
Uh-huh.
scene where Indy throws the guy from the blimp, the Nazi from the blimp,
No
and
ticket.
everyone looks at him like, like I can't believe you've just thrown a guy out of a blimp, and he just goes, "No ticket," and then everyone holds up their tickets. And I even spoof. I do. Well, I say spoof. I pastiche. I steal. I don't know.
Homage.
Oh, it's an homage with love. It's for sure with love. And yeah, like Scott like beats up these guys and looks at this guy, and the guy just gives him his phone. So it's that sequence. But
I think that's part of Scott's genius, as far as I'm concerned. Like as the actor of the status that he is, like movies like Accident Man, A Debt Collector, even Avengement at points for as like Guy Ritchie as that is, like he will play the fool as well. Like nobody will sort of like take a hit as well as Scott Adkins, as much as he's going to be the best one giving a hit in a scene.
oh yeah, Scott's probably not. I mean, maybe I kick my ass for saying it, but we've made, I guess, 4 or 5 movies together now, so maybe I
Yeah.
can say it. But I'd say earlier on in his career, he was very like, I have to be like Van Damme. I have to be
Hmm.
the straight guy, the hard guy, the tough guy. And I think as he's grown as an actor and become a lot more confident, I've seen it in him as well. He's much more willing to like make a fool of himself because
Hmm.
he's still the hardest guy in the room. Like, so he can be the fool because he's going to kick your ass if you, if you don't.
Hmm.
And I guess that's kind of translates to the indie thing. Like, Indy can make a fool of himself because he's got so much swag, he's got so much charisma at just being that character that you're like, yeah, okay, like you're still the coolest guy in the room. So yeah, and it's also like not. I think movie characters from the 80s are. I don't know how to articulate this correctly because there's some real slapstick going on in the 80s.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, but what's different about the way Harrison does it is there's still like a relatable realism to it to me,
Mm.
more so than oh God, I should have prepared, but I don't know, Animal House. Like I don't know,
Sure,
like
yeah, yeah.
it's just not. He's being silly with it, and it's got that kind of campy 80s fun charm. But he's also like very timeless
Hmm.
and James Stewart about it and classic and I love that kind of movie. Like I really try to channel realism into my movies. That's
Mm.
kind of like something that's and I've got better at as I've grown up because I think when you're younger you don't make stupid choices, but your choices are a little bit more childish, I suppose,
Hmm.
and less aware of. I think at the beginning of my career, I was just having fun making movies.
Sure.
I don't think I ever came at it from like I have to be the most serious director. I have to do it this way. I think I
Yeah.
was just having fun, and now I still have fun, but I've kind of like found my groove in my style with like the one shot stuff and with Hungry
Hmm.
and realism is certainly up there with something that I like to see and what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Um, I've totally waffled off what we were
No,
talking
I'm
about.
really
Sorry.
glad. I'm really glad that you came to that point because I like One Shot is incredibly like you're tangible. It's these two movies where one is set on like a training area of a military like outpost, and there's a siege, and Scott Adkins is killing people and fighting them off and protecting an asset kind of thing. And that is like obviously that's the most like on the ground gritty. Like you're simulating like the one shot over like the whole thing. Oh my God, we're in this catastrophe. Same thing in the sequel set in an airport where like it is like I've heard you talk about like that TikTok of like the action movie. We have the countdown. We have to get to something before it.
Mhm.
And then so obviously that's an incredibly grounded premise. And then you go to Hungry, something that is just definitionally so much more outlandish. And so I wanted to hear from you about like where in your approach taking a movie seriously even if that movie doesn't sound serious and
Mhm.
bringing a sense of grit, gravity, or realism even when like the poster as I can see behind you in the Hungry display like these hippos aren't playing games like which feels like just like a clear homage to Hungry Hippos as we see an open hippo mouth at two hands reaching for each other. I wanted to hear about bringing that groundedness to something when it's like, yeah, I can be in on the joke of this movie while also not treating my movie like a joke.
Yeah, well, it's part of it is the times, isn't it? Because actually, there's something kind of action adventure-y about the poster that's kind of quite 80. Like,
Yeah.
if we hadn't had the last 40 years of movies
Mm.
and 4,000 shark movies and Sci-Fi Channel Thunder Shark or I don't know
Yeah.
Shark Shaft or I don't know Sharks on the Beach or whatever,
Yeah.
we probably
NATO's with sharks inside
yeah,
them.
you probably wouldn't view it as perhaps as sort of the way it kind of looks
Mm.
in a weird way. If you took that at 80s face value, you'd probably
Right.
like fucking hell. Like,
Yeah, if
and
that
I
poster is in a double feature alongside Volcano in the multiplex,
exactly.
you're going to see a disaster double.
Yeah, exactly. And back to Jurassic Park, there's kind of like a Jurassic Parkness to it.
Mm.
I quite like that we went for something that could have felt like a not like a sort of like a pulpy novel, like a
Mm.
pulpy book.
Yeah.
Like that could be some artwork on something in a bookshop that I might pick up.
Hmm.
But well, here's the thing: is to me, in my fucked up mind, it was always real. It was always realistic. So
I hear that. As a deeply steeped horror fan who has internalized all this stuff so much that anything seems possible, I hear that.
yeah, so people might go, "Oh, that's really crazy and outlandish and silly and stuff." But in my mind, I was just like, "Well, no, it could happen." Like I've given the realistic parameters of the world, which
Hmm.
were there were almost hippos in Louisiana,
Hmm.
and I've put them on a real boat tour, and hippos can flip boats. I've got a video of it. I can put it on my
Yeah.
Instagram, and then hippos fucking kill 500 people a year.
Yeah.
So like really it was written around facts but I guess in the same way that Jurassic Park was written around
Sure.
facts like and
Yeah.
no one goes, oh, Jurassic Park's like the stupidest thing I've ever seen because it uses science to ground itself. And I think, in a weird way, that's kind of I'm sure someone will call me out and say I'm a dick, but it was kind of my issue, not my issue because I like Star Wars, but like
Hmm.
I couldn't ever quite get there with Star Wars
Oh, interesting.
because it was so fantasy.
Oh,
And that's why Harrison will always be Indy to me more than he will Han.
interesting.
And I love the Star Wars movies, and please, I will undo what I said if
No,
Lucas
this
or
is
if
this.
someone wants to
I
call
like
me to
Star
make
Wars
a
plenty. This is not a Stan account. Like
if
it's
someone wants to call me,
this is
I'll
not
be like,
Star Wars experience.
yeah,
It's
no, but I
completely fine.
just in case someone wants to call me and go, do you want to make a Star Wars movie? And then they listen to this and they go, no, he could never get there with it.
Yeah, well, no, in that case, God, the idea of you directing a Star Wars movie with your approach, like, it's something I'm hungry to see.
I
Hungry to
I
see.
love how you tied in the great work. Yeah, no, so yeah, get Kathleen Kennedy on the phone. So no, yeah, but I think I always am going back to my kind of indie of it all.
Yeah,
I found indie s- less far-fetched
okay,
than, and I know there's fancy elements. I know there's still like the Cup of Christ and there's the alien head and there's
sure.
this, yeah, but it just for some reason it didn't. It was more grounded and it was more real to me. That I think
Mhm.
maybe being in space and like a giant dog, and it was all too much.
Mhm.
And I
Giant dog.
coming from the guy that just directed a hippo movie. So yeah, that's kind of that. And then the poster. So look, the Hungry tie-in. It was actually called the Bayou when I wrote it,
Okay.
and because I think the Bayou is one of the scariest places like ever. Like
I would agree with that.
there's that Water Hill movie. Um,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm forgetting the title of that right now, but Southern Comfort.
Southern
Southern
Comfort,
Comfort.
which is
Absolutely.
just fucking great. And
Hmm.
then I also loved why can't I remember Deliverance, you
Hmm.
know, just that world is terrifying and I kind of wanted to encapsulate it in the title and it was like the bayou and then there'd be a picture of like the hippo coming out of the water on the poster or whatever.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, literally 2 years ago, some people made like a crocodile movie called The Bayou. So that title was gone,
Hmm.
and the one of the producers who also produces the one shot movies, great friend, great guy, been very supportive of my career, said, "Well, why don't we call it Hungry?" And I oh well, like Hungry Hippos, and they were like, "Well, yeah, like Hungry Hippos," and I. Oh, well, are we allowed to do that? And then equally like yeah, but the other good thing about it is it's kind of like Jaws. Like it's got a real like um like one word,
Hmm.
like one syllable. It's Jaws' teeth, hungry
Hmm.
mouth, teeth.
Hmm.
So I kind of like really enjoyed the Jaws relation to it. And
Hmm.
then I couldn't get it out of my mind when people were like, oh well we're calling it hungry. And then when you're coming up with taglines for the movie, which I didn't. This has come up from this is from a marketing team um, who've been doing a great job, and it landed like, oh, this hippo isn't playing games. It's like, oh, it's
It's
you know
really good.
probably like a million more people are going to go watch it because there's that. Even though that isn't necessarily what I would have put myself, it's like
Sure.
it's fucking great. So yeah, it's stark and I like it. Like we get a lot of more so than any other movie I've made. This has been the most viral at this stage of
Sure.
release.
Mhm.
Because normally we have like Scott and stuff, or Scott Adkins, or another star, or
Mhm.
Kate Beckinsale, and people get excited about that. But on this, people are more getting excited about the concept of the movie and the hippo than the star power and so it's been. And I don't know if it's something about the Instagram algorithm, like hippo, like once you've got hippo in your algorithm, like you're just getting hippos. And it's something for the future where, yeah, just put an animal in your movie and the Instagram will roll with it.
Well, I'll give a big up to Kate Beckinsale and say that Kate Beckinsale holding a gun will definitely exceed a hippo. As much as I love a disaster, an animal disaster experience, and knowing that I'm going to get to hear Kate Beckinsale talk for a movie, that will always. I honestly love Wildcat. I think it's a blast, and I think
Great.
it's very funny, and I think you made a really good action comedy with that one.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm proud of that one. And it was yeah, it was just a hard movie to make because there's so many locations and so much to so much
You're
to
all over the
do,
place. You
and
got a lot of extras in there. There's a riot happening outside.
yeah, there was so that movie was so dense. I don't really think we realized how dense it was until we were shooting it. We were like, oh wow, have we bitten off a bit more than we can chew? But kind of like hungry. That could have been the tagline. Um,
They bit off more than they could chew.
yeah, actually, someone else said to me the other day, said that hippo's lost his marbles, which I thought was excellent as
That
well.
is, if the marketing team had given you that, that would have been another gift.
Yeah, and then
Like,
someone, and then there was one other one that made it to me, which was Hippocalypse Now. I thought, well, so there's some, yeah, I love a good tagline.
well, to back to the Indiana of it, I wanted to know when, like, if you're watching this and you're like, daring acts of daring do around your house and your dad's robe and everything. When did you start thinking of like, hey, I'm somebody who loves movies. What if I was somebody who made movies? When did that become like a reality in your mind or a possibility, I guess?
Yeah, that I mean, very young age.
Mm,
I can remember very clearly. I saw Jurassic Park in the cinema in, I guess it was 93 or 94 by the time it came out in the UK. I know they made it in 93, so it might have been 94 in the UK. And I think I was 9 years old.
wow.
And I was just profoundly affected by that movie where it wasn't like I was a big dinosaur fan anyway as a kid, but it wasn't like the dinosaurs that touched me.
Mm.
It wasn't like the dinosaurs that touched me. It was the bringing to life of
Mm.
um, this like fantastical element in such a realistic way
Mm.
that I just sort of left thinking, wow, I want to do that. I want
Yeah.
to make magic. I guess it was like because it. I don't know if my brain has like a different refresh rate to other people or something, but all of those effects in the 80s, like, or maybe it's the era that you grow up in where
Mm.
things advance, and I just never bought any of it. And like Jurassic Park, I saw, and I just was like, "Fuck me!" Even
Yeah.
at 9, I was just like, "This is real. This is real life. This is amazing."
Hmm.
I couldn't see the artifice. And I told my mom after I was like, I'm going to be a film director, and she bless her, like she's so supportive that and I'm not like a nepo baby or anything like that, but she had the best, she gave me the best advice I ever got in my life, which was you're going to be doing whatever job you pick, you're
Mhm.
going to be doing it for 60 years, so you better pick something that you enjoy doing because you've been doing it for the rest of your life.
All right.
And I was like the best advice ever because I was like, oh well, I enjoy playing with my dad's camera and making movies. So if I do that, I'll never work a day in my life. And that was the driving force for
In you've made it's over 10 movies now, I think you've directed, correct?
11. Yeah, done 11.
11.
And
11
that's
movies.
just as director. I was a first assistant director and second AD on probably another 30 movies.
First AD are the people who are getting the movies made. The first AD are the ones who are keeping that set together, who are making the ships run on time. And so that is, I mean, an incredible training ground, I feel like in life, let alone in filmmaking.
Yeah, semi-thankless job, but really, like you say, at the top of the thing is, no one wants to do that job, or certainly no one really wanted. There are better. For those who don't know, you're the managerial side of film directing.
Yeah,
So
it's like the director's like the creative leader of the movie, and then the first AD is like the logistical leader of
correct,
a
yes,
movie.
correct. You're the right hand man. You're the actual one getting it done.
Yeah.
They're coming up with all the champagne ideas on the lemonade budget, and you're
Yeah.
the one who's like going, "Well, how am I going to do that? I do this?" And you're up late hitting the bottle, trying to. No, no, that didn't happen. So,
Not once.
and not once, but there was a weird period in the film industry where we hit this kind of recession. So as I say, I knew I wanted to be a film director when I was 9. So I
Hmm.
geared all of my education towards that, and I got my first running job when I was 15
Hmm.
on a Burger King commercial
Okay.
for work experience, and I just loved it. I was just a runner, like making teas and coffees, but I just wanted to be around it. It was excellent. It was so cool. And then so I geared my education to doing film and television production style thing. So I did like a film and media A level when I went to university to study film and television. Anyway, the reason I'm going down this path is So by the time I went to uni when I was 20, I'd already been like running on sets for 5 years. So I already
Yeah.
had like an advancement over a lot of people on
Wow,
my
yeah.
course because they've only just working out there. They want to work in film, whereas I'd known for 11 years. So I'd been
Hmm.
like watching every DVD special feature I could. And that's really how I'd kind of absorbed and learned filmmaking in them formative years. And then what happened was there was a recession going on in England, but there was equally a boom in DVD sales because everyone's
Oh.
at home. No one can afford to go to the cinema. So people are buying DVDs. And so there was a great DVD market in the UK.
Mm.
DVD, straight to DVD, etc. Movies generally a lower budget than theatrical movies.
Sure.
And they couldn't really get experienced first ADs to come and like manage these movies on the budgets that they had.
Mm.
Whereas I had already had like 6 years worth of filmmaking experience, on set experience, and had
Yeah.
AD, not first AD, but I'd like thirded and seconded and knew the back, and I have a logical brain that I
Hmm.
was able to just basically get employed where nobody else wanted to get employed,
Wow.
and at the top of the pyramid because as you said, like basically being first AD gives you access to everyone at the top because you're talking
Absolutely.
to everyone. You're talking to
Hmm.
the producers, the directors, the HODs. You're not messing around down here. So you learn very quickly and you get respected very quickly because if you're doing a good job,
Right.
because everything goes through you.
Hmm.
And yeah, I had a baby face and I was like a precocious and um, confident or whatever. But I was also humble because my parents are like working class. My dad's started his own company, so I kind of talk to people in that way, I
Mm.
suppose. And I was able to elevate very quickly in the first AD arena,
Mm.
doing like maybe 3, 4 movies a year because money and wasn't necessarily. I mean, obviously it was important to me to live, but it wasn't what I was doing it for. I was doing
Right.
it because I loved making movies, and this was my dream, and I would have done it for free.
Hmm.
And as it turned out, by the time I got to 25, so I'd been doing it for like 5 years, I met the right person who said, "Hey, don't you want to be a director?
Hmm.
Here's some money. Why don't you go and make something?"
Hmm.
So, and that was how I got the gift of where I wanted to be.
Well, as I like I come to the end of my time, I'm really enjoying talking with you. I guess what I would want to kind of like package it in is like the like talking about how the AD job is like the logistical hub of getting a movie made, like the logistical end of getting a movie to exist and coming up and feeling ignited to become a filmmaker of your own with these like epics of adventure, Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park, and then talking about like sort of no matter the scope of fantasy in a movie, like bringing it down to a sense of reality. I wanted to hear with such a veteran career and so many movies made and so much of an awareness from so many capacities of like, how the sausage is made, as they say. I wanted to hear from you if there is a through line of the kinds of things that when you're on set or when you're in post, when you feel like you've made the magic thing, even if it's just parts of your movies, like maybe you're enraptured by like the entirety of your watching, like I've captured Hollywood magic, or but if it's just even in scenes or if there are like foundational elements to things where it's like, and when I do this, I feel that magic that made me want to do this in the first place.
Oh, wow. I mean, there's so much to like, as we said, every day's a dream. Going and making films is living my childhood dream. But when
Mm,
it's the energy that you create on set
mm,
and around you, and not just me creating, but like all the actors are creating, that you all just start to thrive off this global fun, like this,
mm.
and yeah, of course you'll watch an amazing performance. You'll see one of the actors, read your words or read someone else's words, and just you won't have pictured it that way before, and you can feel yourself like getting closer to the screen, like where, and you get tingles, and the experience of that. It's just like, wow, we just captured something absolutely incredible there. So yeah, the actors bring that, but then equally, like we built a swamp set for Hungary.
Right.
We built that tank. That's a tank. Like we built basically a 50 by 50 meter swimming pool, and I
Wow.
remember just shooting smoke rolling across it at like 2 in the morning. This fantastic backlight, And when we shot it in Malta, and it was just deathly quiet, and I was just like, I just believed I was in Louisiana. I was just like, this is making magic, guys. This is
Uh-huh.
like, you say it if you're in the right crowd, everyone's like, yeah. You say it in the wrong crowd, and people look at you like, sure.
Yeah.
But
Act like you've been here before.
but no, you just get sucked into the smoke and mirrors and the fun of it all, and
Hmm.
you have to try to remember because it's someone else he passed away now, a producer friend called Ralph Larilla,
Mm.
and he said it's called show business because it's a business,
Hmm.
and you have to. I think I'm a child enough and lucky enough that I can sort of put that to I can compartmentalize that part of it
Right.
sometimes that I go, okay, like I'll fight for that because that's the fun bit, that's the kid bit, that's the
Hmm.
child in me that wants to do that. And they can tell me I can't have this and that because I understand that things cost money.
Yeah.
But you have to kind of just hold on to the right bit of the dream,
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, the people who are giving you the money want to make money. They don't want to waste money. So,
Sure.
there's some give and take. And I think actually that's one of the things that first ADing really taught me was how to know what to spend the money on, I suppose, like
Mm.
where you were just being indulgent. Like
Hmm.
something could just, it's a person on the phone, like you've written it to be on a skyscraper in New York and it costs £20,000 for this location. And then they're like, but if you spend that on that half an hour, you won't have £20,000 to spend on something really important, which could be like, an incredible actor for the day or something.
Right.
So you sometimes need to reality check yourself, and not everybody can do that. And I think that was one of the things that I learned as a first AD was, I worked with 25, 30 directors, and I could see you they would divvy in half. You'd have
Hmm.
people that were very pragmatic, and you'd have dreamers, and there was no right or wrong, but it was a great education to watch people do different things,
Seriously.
and it would be for me, I'd look at them and I'd go, oh, I wouldn't do that, like, and then I'd go to the cinema and I'd be proven wrong, or I'd go, I wouldn't do that, and I'd go to the cinema and go, yep, told you shouldn't have done that. So
Yeah.
it kind of reaffirmed my own taste as well,
Hmm.
and
Well,
I and
that is an outstanding answer and exactly the kind of answer that I hoped you would offer in that question. So, and that is, I have to leave it there. And I just am so happy that I got the chance to talk to you and to talk to you on the occasion of Hungry. That just, I feel like someone recently described to me action as being like the distillation of every filmmaking discipline in one thing. Like when you're doing something as complex as an action sequence, which you've done so many of so amazingly, it is where all of filmmaking lands at one time and you have to pull it off. So it is a pleasure to get to talk to somebody who has demonstrated such capability and enjoyment in pulling off the distillation of what cinema is.
that's so kind, thank you. I will come back and do any interview like you like.
Maximum Fun
A worker-owned network.
of artist-owned shows.
Supported
Directly
by you.